Alright, what's going on everybody? It's Matt10. So welcome to the remake of the last video. I wanted to sincerely apologize for the mic quality. That video is gone, it's deleted, so on to better things now. Let's get into this. We are doing the FIFA 17, unfortunately 1.06 update that really screwed the game up and kind of just ruined the last sliders. So this is basically a re-upload of the previous one and using a version that's called Set 2. And the reason it's called Set 2 is because on Operation Sports, it was literally the second set that we came up with, and we all enjoyed it. And we probably pushed it too far and went back and probably did too much. We could have just kept it, left it there for a couple more weeks, and but that's how it is, and it's probably my fault. I will definitely take ownership there, but the nice thing is we can bring it back here. A lot of people like to Set 2 on Operation Sports, and I'm confident you guys all over the world will like it as well. So we're playing 15 minutes, world class and legendary. You can do 10. You can do, if you go under 10, so let's say you go to 6, I don't know how far you can go, so 6 for example, you can make some adjustments, to make it, obviously, to get more chances, etc., for the computer, for example, and your own team. But we play primarily 10 or 15 minutes. I play 15 minutes for really career modes, just because I really want to get engrossed in the match, and I feel like 15 minutes is perfect. But 10 minutes can work as well. And then if you want to, like I said, go lower than that, there'll just be some adjustments which I'll go over here. So we do on slow game speed, we just can't, it doesn't look right on any other speeds. It's way too hyper, way too what's the word, very twitchy, right? Very twitchy, because the FIFA's animations in general are very speedy. So yeah, definitely want to focus on playing on slow. Jumping into the gameplay customization here, we're looking at sprint speed for 51 for the user and the computer. The reason we have 51 is actually it reduces the jogging animation quite a bit. You guys know in my previous videos, even FIFA 15, FIFA 14, more FIFA 16 as well, jogging animation is probably one of the worst things that the developers came up with, or inadvertently came up with, where the player just starts to jog. You're holding down the sprint button, I get it, you're trying to reduce pace or whatever, but making players randomly jog, that looks more like power walking than anything, is not a good move, and that's what jogging animation is. So increasing the sprint speed to 51 actually allows it for those sprints to last longer. Makes it a lot more enjoyable, more physical, less of a chance of the computer giving up on you, trying to chase you down. They will try to chase you down. And then also for your teammate AI, and then also you, whoever you're controlling. So that's what we have at 51. This is personal preference, so you guys can adjust that to if you don't mind the jogging animation or not. But this year they've introduced the jogging animation for the person dribbling with the ball too, so go figure. Anyway, acceleration 49.49. One thing I will note here real quick, for those of you that feel that the computer needs a boost, simply just do a discrepancy. Put them at 49.50, right? So user 49, computer at 50. Instantly you'll see a difference. You'll see a lot more difficulty on trying to beat the computer, and it'll be more difficult. And if you really want a challenge, that's a good way to do it. So let's say you don't want to go to legendary, you want to use world class, but maybe you want to do the the home and away mentality that I do the home for world class for home matches, and then legendary for away matches. But let's say you don't want to do that, you can go with acceleration 49 for 49 apiece for those home matches, and then maybe 49.50 for those away matches to kind of make it a little more difficult. So that's an option. Yeah, just use that if you'd like. Next, shot error 51. We went down from 53 on this, just mainly because we want the computer to score. We want the user to score as well. Goals, right? It's kind of tough, especially as you go under those 10-minute mark. you're not going to see, you're going to see chances, but the goalkeepers are very good in this game for one, and then the misses in this game are quite good too. They're realistic misses, but you know, you're trying to compress a 90-minute match into the given allotted time that we choose. You definitely have to pay attention to the shot error, make sure more shots are on goal, etc. So, you know, player averages there, but 51's been a good balance of things, so it's kind of where we've kept it here. But you can go down to 50 if you play lower. I say if you're doing 6 minutes, drop that even lower, drop that into the 40s if you want, but that's definitely on your personal preference. With pass error, we have it at 60. This again is one you can modify. Let's say you want a little bit more from the computer. We'll simply reduce this down. You can even go as far as 50, and you'll see it'll get frustrating in some spots where they're making perfect passes, etc. But you know, FIFA is designed around chances being created by passes, and a lot of passes. They don't play super direct in FIFA where long balls over the top, or you know, no real challenge to the defense in terms of balls over the top, etc. It just doesn't happen in FIFA. It's not in its DNA, which is why custom team tactics are a hot topic right now as well. So that's an option for you guys. If you want, you can just lower the pass error, you know, and make it more difficult. So, but we have it at 60. I like 60 myself just because it brings more hesitation for the computer. I was getting so annoyed on this 1.06 update where the computer was not even hesitating whatsoever. They're flying down the pitch, right? Just flying. Guys are just flying down there, sprinting straight forward and getting passes played perfectly into their path. And in real life, that's not how it works. There is a lot more hesitation because, right, you don't want to lose possession of the ball. And that just didn't make sense to me, that we could see these perfect passes happening with these perfect connecting, you know, 12 passes in a row, etc. That's not realistic to me. So pass error is at 60. The main thing you have to be concerned about with this is crossing. The computer is still going to try to make crosses. They may actually end up some really cool crosses because it's not so direct, it's not so perfect, so you kind of see like a manual type of crossing. I personally love that aspect, but you know, I can see how guys, they're very linear with their thinking, where they think passer, oh, computer's not even gonna have a chance. You know, there's a lot of matches that I've played with match facts that I've showed you know, the computer dominating in that department. So don't let this number fool you. Let's go shot speed to 50 a piece. This was previously a little higher than that, I believe 51, so just reduced it honestly because it looked like the shots were going in really hard, so just reduced it here. Keeper may make more saves because of that, but it's still going to be fine. Pass speed, this is really the biggest difference with the 1.06. Pass speed is still user for 45, but the computer is the difference here at 30. Now again, this is personal preference, meaning my personal preference, and the reason it's my personal preference is because I despise drilled passing. You guys will always hear me talk about drilled passing. Drilled passing is the worst thing ever created, worst thing ever discovered, worst thing ever thought about, and people that want to defend it just have no bearing to understand the purpose of it. Nobody in football does these drilled passes as a consistent attack mentality. There is nobody in football. No coach is going to teach you to send hospital balls right at players' ankles. And the best part is the computer players, they can control the ball perfectly somehow. In real life, that's not going to fly. It's like playing butts up. You know, you're trying to hit your friend in the ankle so they'll can't juggle the ball anymore or something. So to me, pass speed at 30 has allowed this to still have drilled passes, but not have it scale at such a high point. You know, I'm a big believer that 30 regular pass looks like a 50. It looks like a 50 user pass for the computer, and then a drill pass of at a 30 mark, it looks more like a 60 pass speed, regular pass speed that is. So I can go really far deep into it, guys. I'll make this video longer than it needs to be. So, but if you have questions on that, let me know, because there are certain values here that really still control the way the computer can attack. And with this pass speed at 30, you'll be surprised to see how efficient the computer still is, especially paired with that pass error. They will make mistakes, as they should, as we should, because it's a sport, you know, it's a pressure to perform. There should be mistakes. I don't want to see perfect passing from teams like, you know, like Newport County or something, you know, trying to beat up Man United and having 90% passing, and then splitting the defense with the drilled pass every which way. It's unrealistic and it doesn't make sense. So this is up to you guys. You can go to 35. You'll still see drilled passing there. I think 30 is a really safe spot. The only hesitation you can have with the lower pass speed is if you like to sprint around and try to tackle the computer, basically defend unrealistically, you're going to have a good chance to dispossess the computer. They'll still, you know, get around you, but there'll be that time in which they're still waiting for the ball to be received and you'll pounce on it. So, you know, if you get to that point, that's fine. You want to play like that, you know, go figure. It's up to you. You get what you put in. So injury frequency and injury severity will go hand in hand. We have these set for 50 for the frequency because the frequency's been pretty good, no issues there. It's the severity really that hurts, because the severity actually makes the it makes players, when it's in the 50 rather, when it makes players really walk off the pitch and you know, get subbed constantly. This still happens even on 5, which is funny. But now sometimes players, when they get injured, they won't just walk off and be subbed off the pitch. You know, they will, you know, leave the pitch for a second and then jump back on, or, you know, they'll recover on the pitch, you know, get up and be okay. So that's more of what we want to see. In terms of how it affects long-term injuries, it varies. I don't think anybody has a concrete idea of what controls that, honestly, so don't worry too much about that. In terms of severity, you'll still see ranges from all over the place. So next is goalkeeper ability. Goalkeeper ability is at 15, just like the previous set. Goalkeepers are ridiculous in this game. I love it because in terms of the 15 value is because there's mistakes from keepers, which is great, pressure to perform again, but they make some amazing saves as well. So you'll see the real good keepers stand out, and it's a pretty exciting things to watch, especially paired up with the shot error and the shot speed that we have. Marking at 78. Now this is the biggest difference, and you see it's 78 for both. And the biggest difference here with marking is that we wanted to, you know, when we created set 2, we wanted to focus on more showing to the ball, right? Basically controlling the runs. We wanted players to stop running away from the ball carrier, you know, and making these perfect runs down the flanks, or running in the center of the pitch on a 25-yard run, you know, and getting the ball perfectly. We felt like marking just needed some love, and 78's been a very tight marking value, but it can work out nicely because it allows players to really shine more one-on-one or in tight spaces, just like in real football, right? So if you watch, you know, actual matches, you see players, they have some time on the ball at times, depending on, you know, team tactics, etc. But most of the time, they'll have somebody near them. On default, on the previous set, with this 1.06 update, they've given a lot more space to players. There's, you know, you can adjust custom team tactics to make this change. But for those of you guys that don't, and those of you who, you know, who can't even, you've started Master League rather, you've started a career mode and you can't make these changes, then you know, to say you have to use custom team tactics to fix it doesn't really, you know, doesn't really help you. And that's not what these sliders are about. These sliders are about helping a global base. We're not about making these if this then that, if this then that, if this then that, because we could, you know, approach that for everything. And then, you know, it'll come down to, hey, you just need to play better. And I don't like that. I hate that comment. So with that said, with marking, wanted players to be around the ball carrier. Wanted players to be marking players off the ball, but not so much that they're going to follow them every single place, right? There's thresholds. 80, I think, is the highest you should really go. 78's been a nice balance for us. You still see a lot of space in some cases. You see nice crosses where there's enough space for the attacker to get on the ball. They're not just holding hands or anything like that. So don't worry too much about how this marking is set up. It really what allows everything to come together paired up with the following next 4 settings. So next one here is run frequency, much lower than what we had it. We had it at 50. Again, for you guys that are playing under 10 minutes, raise this up. Go to, I would say, 25 or higher. I can't say you'll see a lot of realism in terms of the runs. You may see decent runs. Just be aware that you're not going to see as much as checking to the ball. You'll see a lot more runs off the ball and more, streaking runs, as I call them. So that's up to you of what you want. And if you're going to play lower minutes, then yes, you want more chances. That's what I would suggest. Just increase that run frequency. You'll be in good shape. Now, for those of you that are doing the 10 to 15 minutes IOE setup, this is just mainly, again, to have players show to the ball for gradual runs versus just these all-out commitment runs that make no sense. In real life, you don't see players overcommit on their runs as if they're so completely sure that this pass is going to be the best pass ever. You must make this pass. You'll see that in attacking positions, just like you should in real life, but not in the middle of the pitch, not from recovering after a loose ball or something like that, and you're not counterattacking, right? The way it looks on FIFA just looks really strange when that happens. It's the animation of the player pointing to the space and wanting it perfectly. That still happens. I'm not saying we can remove any of these things, but it's one of those things that just needs attention and needs a lot less of. I think, I tend to bash the devs on their mentality. Honestly, sometimes I don't know if they've played the game or if they've watched enough matches to see how off the ball runs work. If they do, they take it to the extreme. They don't really understand that it's very much the simple things in the game of football that make the biggest difference, and that's where I think is lost upon their approach sometimes. And so that's what I focus on here with the run frequency. Going from there, we've got line height at 65 for the user and then 68 for the computer. So you're asking yourself, why, Matt, do we have a discrepancy of 3 points? The thinking here is we have length evened out for the user and the computer. So we always want to build a little discrepancy which allows players to not just meet like chest to chest, if you will. Now they're going shoulder to shoulder. So essentially it means they're kind of going to overlap a little bit more, creates more physicality, creates more random play, more variety, really makes the game stand out. And when we had it evened lined, so 60, if it was 65 apiece, 40 apiece, 70 apiece, right, for height, length, and width, then that would be an issue because it would just be too perfect in a sense. It would be as if they can't, get past each other. You saw less fouls that way because they're meeting so perfectly and they're stopping at certain points. 40 line length already has it set up where there's a certain threshold in which players will actually meet each other. I believe it's 44, at least it was in 16. I think on 17 it's the same. But on 40 has the best look defensively. So we want to keep that, and we want to keep the higher height as well. Paired up with the marking, it just all kind of blends together. So this length allows that to also build nicely with the discrepancy in height. Okay, and so we've kept that at 40 for the length, and then the width, we've also increased the width. As you lower length, you kind of need to expand it more, or if it's going to be way too compressed. And in FIFA 17, especially in this 1.06 update, players are a lot more scrunched together, those outside backs, yet again, just like FIFA 16, where they're way too tucked in, playing like center backs. So here the width is impactful to keep players goal side, but also not overly too wide, where midfielders aren't running into the box versus just staying outside of the box on the sidelines, right? So it's a good balance here, and of course, bear in mind, it always depends on formation, tactics, width, and the custom team tactics, etc. Okay, there's always a disclaimer said, but I have to say it. So that's the important there with width, is that we wanted to balance that out. The nice thing about that height discrepancy, it also creates a little bit of width discrepancy on its own just by that adjustment there. So you can pick a discrepancy on whichever one you want. Height is the easiest for us because the marking values are the same, and the computer tends to play a little bit further back, so that 68 height paired with that marking, paired with all the other lines, you know, it all works together. One quick comment is sliders are all relative to each other, so don't ever isolate a slider value. There's always something that complements it. And I always get ticked off by guys that love to isolate slider values, and they say this value, this error value doesn't result in the computer not being able to be a threat, right? This sprint value results in this computer not being a threat, etc. I hate that kind of mentality because all sliders are relative to each other, right? What changes is the animation, not necessarily the difficulty, right? So that's a real small rant I have, but I see it a lot. I don't see it just on Operation Sports, but I see it a lot on YouTube, on other people's channels and everything. They take it with such a linear approach, and they don't understand the sliders are a composition of different slider values, and they all have to complement each other. So we have fullback positioning at 60 here, guys. The reason for that is because run frequency is very low at 5. So we wanted fullback positioning to help create more of an outlet. You'll see this as well, how the computer will still overlap. You'll also see how other runs happen. What I like about this value whenever fullback is higher than default is that it lets players, defenders in particular, to stay in set pieces longer. FIFA has this thing since FIFA 15 in which players start to retreat on loose balls, or retreat on, you know, as soon as a clearance is made on a set piece. But it goes to, you know, still the attacking player. The players are still retreating. I think PES 17 picked up this trait with their, you know, instant retreats, etc. So it's a terrible thing, but it's one that can be looked at with fullback positioning. It's not perfect. You could put this at 100 and they'll still do it, and it's one of those things, once you see it you can't unsee it, and I always apologize for that kind of thing. But fullback positioning does help a lot more of the runs. The first touch control 65, this is a big change. We've had it at 55. I felt like as the patch updates have increased, there's been such an emphasis of just very clean feeling matches. It's really a strange thing. I don't know if it's the engine, I don't know exactly what it is, but it makes the game feel very soft with the lower first touch control. Even with the higher first touch control, it's still too soft for me. I don't know, it's a very feel kind of thing, right? And something with FIFA 17, as they've moved up, you kind of feel less of the player models. There's something where it's just an imbalance of sorts. I can't really put my finger on it. There used to be a solid feel to FIFA. Think about FIFA 12, FIFA 11, my all-time favorite FIFA, FIFA 14 even, you know, even FIFA 15 with how, you know, hyper speed it was. FIFA 16 did pretty good, and towards the end it got really good. But here in FIFA 17, this new engine is really strange to me, and how the feel of the players is. So, but yeah, guys, this is this is the set. This is hopefully the last set. I hope whatever, if 1.07 comes out tomorrow, that this will still hold up. I really hate that it's February and we're still working on this. So a little history about what was done is I played with our sliders that we had on the previous update. You guys saw, if you watched my career mode, you saw how easy some of the matches were and how the computer just seemed to shut off, and it just felt like charity, right? And it was really frustrating. And you guys know me, if I'm winning from charity, I don't want to win at all. That's a joke to me. But that was happening a lot more often, and I didn't like it. So I wanted to approach it and change it, and I played for God knows how long. And I played on default. I did so many different combinations, from higher height to a lower height with a higher length, with the length overlapping height, similar to what I did at the end of FIFA 14. You know, different pass speeds, pass errors, sprints, etc. Nothing was really just working. It was very, very tough to play. And then set 2, I remember we loved it on Operation Sports. I never got to share it on YouTube, and so this is what I'm doing essentially, and it's beautiful that it also translated over. So again, for those of you guys that need more challenge, remember, drop this acceleration for the user 49, keep that, rather raise the CPU acceleration to 50. That alone will make a difference. Then you can make the adjustment to the error values, depending on 1, the minutes you play, and then 2, how difficult you want to make it for yourself. But you're in full control to change it. Don't go into that mode where you're going to change everything all at once, because remember, the golden rule is sliders complement each other. What you are making, if you decide to make 15 changes to accomplish one thing, it may have only took 2 changes to do that. So make your comments below if you need help with that. I'll be more than happy to help out. As always, guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thanks again for your understanding on the quality of the last video. I wanted to get a re-upload here for you guys. I really appreciate it. I love the interaction with all of you. I'll try to do a Q&A Sunday if I can. If not, I'll reply back to your comments. But I do want to thank you guys so much. Yeah, so as always, take care and stay tuned. Some general thoughts on the most recent update that just came out on FIFA. I mean, you guys can see here just as the video is playing, it's really chaotic. I'm just seeing some terrible overall defending, positioning. This is on default, by the way, so have to address that first. I already tried it with those current sliders that you guys know of, and it's just not working.